Parshas Devarim, Shabbos Chazon. The once a year, we move this year to a different location. And unfortunately, we've hit another Shabbos Chazon. Each year we say that this will hopefully be the last shir that we do on a Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. But yet, unfortunately, here we are again. We're here once again. And not only is this the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, but it is once again, as in last year, the Shabbos, which is the day of Tisha B'Av. And the Gemara Masechta Megillah, Daf Heyom and Beis, says the following. Very, very interesting and fascinating Gemara. And the Gemara says, Bikesh Rebbe La'akor Tisha B'Av Shechol B'Shabbos. The Gemara has a machlokes, and the Gemara says the first side of the machlokes is that Rebbe wanted to la'akor, to abolish a Tisha B'Av that falls out on Shabbos. When Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, let's not have Tisha B'Av. That's what Rebbe says. Why? Hoyo ve'idchi. Rebbe says once you have the tinus that you push it off, because obviously we do not fast on Shabbos. Once you push off the tinus, once you push off Tisha B'Av, so you know what? It's pushed off, so that's it. We don't go back and try to redo the fast the next day. It was Shabbos. We pushed it off. Now there's no fast of Tisha B'Av. That's what Rebbe says. But the Gemara continues, V'loi hoidu loi chachamim. The chachamim were not maskim to this. The chachamim said that even if Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, we still have a Tisha B'Av as we do this year. We know the halacha is like the Chachamim, and we push it off to Sunday. And although it's a nidcha, and there are certain halachas which are different, but the fast of Tisha B'Av does apply. It is still there. So Nesivos Shalom asks, how can we explain the machlokes between Rebbe and the Chachamim? What is this machlokes tolian? What is behind the machlokes where Rebbe says abolish Tisha B'Av, and the Chachamim say you still need to do it? So Nesivos Shalom brings down, and incidentally, today was the yahrzeit, the 16th yahrzeit up in Nesivos Shalom. So it's especially important that we say over the Nesivos Shalom's Torah, and I made sure to learn Nesivos Shalom today also as a schus for Nesivos Shalom. Whatever we can do for him, we have so much benefit from Nesivos Shalom every week for the past 7 years. About 300, almost 350 weeks of Nesivos Shalom. So the least I thought I could do today is to open up a sefer and learn about it. And Nesivos Shalom brings down from the Avodas Yisrael, and he elaborates like this. And he says, Bikesh la'akor can mean something totally different. You know what it means? Bikesh la'akor, Bikesh la'asois ikar means that he wanted to make it an ikar. Bikesh la'asois ikar, not la'akor to uproot. That when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, that he wanted to make that is more of a fast and more of a better Tisha B'Av than any other year. And how does that work out? When Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos like this year, more than any other occasion for Klal Yisrael, this shows something special to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does that mean? The reason is, it's Zok Nesivos Shalom, that even in this man of Tisha B'Av, whereas, you know, we had the 3 weeks, and then we went to the 9 days, and we were so down, we're so in Avelos, and the Avelos keeps getting stronger and stronger, but you know what happens? We come to Shabbos, and Shabbos is Tisha B'Av, but what do? On Shabbos, we say no. We can't have Avelos on Shabbos. We cannot do this thing of Avelos on Shabbos. Zok to Nesivos Shalom, that is a tremendous nachas ruach to Hashem, where we say, although it's so difficult, we've been thinking about the Churban as we should have been for the last 3 years, 3 weeks, many years, right? Last 3 weeks, and now the 9 days. But when it comes to Shabbos, we say, no, it's your Shabbos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We can't have Avelos on Shabbos. It's your Shabbos. We have to show you how much we love the Shabbos, how much we value the relationship and the closeness that we get to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on Shabbos. That, showing that, is an ikar. Bikesh Rebbe Lasois Ikar. That's how he holds Lakar. It shows that we're showing how we value the Shabbos more than any other Yom Tov. more than any other time, that when Tisha B'Av, it's so hard for us to ignore the Avelis of Tisha B'Av, yet we do it and we say, no, Shabbos is for you, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when it's so dark, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu like when we show that? Because when it's so dark for us and we're so deep in Avelis, we show that we have bitachon, and we're showing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we understand that we are never rejected. You might be upset at us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't have the Beis HaMikdash yet, but we understand and we show that we're the children of Hashem and that we're never, ever totally rejected. Hashem will certainly help us out one day and bring the Geula. And that's what we show by not having Tisha B'Av on Shabbos. And this says, Rebbe, this what the Nesivos Shalom says, this is an Iker. Now this inyan of Avelis of the Chorban, what does it mean? What is Avelis for the Chorban? It is really, essentially, it is a longing for the Shechina. The Shechina is in Golus. The Shechina is not where it belongs. In Yerushalayim, we aren't all together with the Shechina. It is a longing for the Shechina. So Chazal were Kaveya, that 3 times a day, and really we do this the whole year, 3 times a day we mention this in a few different ways. V'Yerushalayim Yerecha Barachamim Tashuv. And we think it's just now, this time of the year. Every single day we say it, besides Shabbos, right? V'Yerushalayim Yerecha Barachamim Tashuv. Es tzemach David Avdecha Meheros Atzmiach. V'Sechazena Einenu B'Shuvcha L'Tziyoim Barachamim. We talk about it every single day, the whole year. That is our Avelis. It's our longing. It's what we show. That's what Chorban is to us. We show our longing and our tefillos that we want to come back to Yerushalayim. And the Nesivos Shalom says, you know what? It's those tefillos and it's that longing which is actually going to be the thing that builds the Beis HaMikdash. Nesivos Shalom, in his always very positive way, he says, Avelis is not a depressing thing. It's not a down thing. Avelis and the tefillah for Yerushalayim, Avelis is what is going to build the Beis HaMikdash. It is the way we build, when we notice what we're missing. And really there's 2 parts of Avelis, and this is something which is very, very kedai to think about when we come to Tisha B'Av. One part of the Avelis is the mourning for what? Mourning for that which we once had. We once had something, and it is now gone. And we once had a Beis HaMikdash. And now we don't have it anymore. We had the Beis HaMikdash in its splendor, with the Shechina. We had the whole thing. But now, we had this Gila Shechina that we had is now gone. So that's one type of Avelis, where we mourn something which we once had. And really says the Nesivos Shalom, a person is supposed to come to terms, and we've mentioned this about different lessons in life that the Nesivos Shalom tells us. A person is supposed to come to terms. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends something your way that you know you're not so happy with. So a person is really supposed to come to terms with that. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from me. However, there's an exception, and that is the Chorban. A person is never supposed to come to terms with the idea that there's a Chorban. Oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. You always want me to be happy with what you do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to come to terms with the fact this must be what you want, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. That is an exception. And that is something that we should never, ever come to terms with. We should never be complacent with that. The Gemara Masechta Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, tells us that B'shah shemachnisim es ha'adam ladin la'achar me'ah v'esrim, when a person comes up to Shemayim, and the Gemara enumerates a few things that they're going to ask you. And one thing they're going to ask you is Tzipisa liYeshua. And it doesn't mean, Tzipisa means, were you anxiously waiting and awaiting the Geula? And that's a question. And the fact that they're going to ask us that, La'achar me'ah v'esrim, tells us that it's a very, very important thing. And the Nesivos Shalom tells us that even if somebody is maimin be'emunah shalema b'vias HaMashiach, every day I am maimin b'vias HaMashiach, you may not pass the test. They're still going to ask you, Tzipisa liYeshua. There's a question of Tzipisa. Were you waiting? Were you anxiously awaiting? Why? Because Tzipisa is actually part of the building process. It's part of building the new Beis HaMikdash. And so that is the first part of Avelis. Looking back and saying we don't have what we once had. That of the past. Chazal tell us, Kol hamis'abel al Yerushalayim, zoiche v'roya b'simchasa. Somebody who is misabel, you mourn over Yerushalayim, you will be zoiche to the simcha. And that is the avelus, that is an avelus of olam habinyan. The Gemara is telling us that if you have that kind of avelus, you're going to be zoiche v'roya b'simchasa. You're going to be part of the building of the Beis HaMikdash. That is an avelus that builds. And through that, you're zoiche to build. And it's through our avelus that we cause Mashiach to be born on Tisha B'Av. We know, Chazal tell us that on Tisha B'Av, through our avelus, we cause building. The Gemara tells us, Masechta Tainis, Daf Chavtes Amud Beis, that when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, that we are oichel afilu kesudas, we eat a suda, afilu kesuda shloima b'shaita. That we know you're going to come to Shal Shudas this week, and many people are noyeg like this, that you eat a fancy meal. You can eat everything. Why? Because on Shabbos, we need to be happy. We want to show that on Shabbos we need to be happy. And we explained that there are two parts of Avelis. There's one part of Avelis where we look back, right? And there's another part of Avelis. On Shabbos, we can only have one part of Avelis. And what is that? Shabbos is the part of Avelis of the longing for the future. That's the second part of Avelis. On Shabbos, you can't have an Avelis. You're not allowed to be upset about something on Shabbos. You're not allowed to look back. But the part of Avelis of the longing for the future, that you still have to have on Shabbos. On Shabbos, we always long for things in the future. Tzoma nafshi leilakim. We say, Nichsafa v'gam kolsa nafshi. We have a longing for the future that you're allowed to have on Shabbos. So the Gemara is telling us, Bikesh Rebbe Lakar Tisha B'Av Shechol B'Shabbos. The Gemara is telling us that Rebbe wanted to uproot, the Pashat Pshat is, a Tisha B'Av that falls out on Shabbos. To make it that what? That part of Avelis, of longing, to be the Iker. Rebbe wanted Lakar to make the part of Avelis of longing is the Iker, and therefore, you can't do that on Shabbos. So Rebbe wanted to be Mavatel, Tisha B'Av that falls out on Shabbos, because that part you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Sipisol Yeshua, that the part of for the future, we can't cry over things of the past on Shabbos. But the part of the future that Rebbe wanted to make, that's the Iker. So that you could do on Shabbos. And since you could do that on Shabbos, then we already did what we had to do for Tisha B'Av this year. We already did that. And that we don't need a fast the next day at all, because on Shabbos we have Tzoma L'cha Nafshi, we're already Yotze Tisha B'Av, we don't do that. But the Chachamim said no. We still have that other part of Tisha B'Av. You need the Avelis of the past also. Ein Chanami, on Shabbos, we have the longing for the future. But that's not all. There's a part of Tisha B'Av where we have to cry about the past. And for that, we need Sunday. That is part of the building process over crying about Tisha B'Av, something that we lost. And to know what we are missing. So on a regular year, you have Tisha B'Av, they're all together on one day. But this year, you should know, when you think about Tisha B'Av, it's two totally separate things. On Shabbos, we long for the future. And on Sunday, we cry about what we once had. And what we can hope is that this year, that Taka, being that it's separate, maybe it won't come crashing on us on one day. We come to realize, maybe we'll have a little more time to think that Tzipisali Yeshua, we have to think about the future. And then on Sunday, we have to understand that we're really missing something. We have to cry about the past. Let this Taka be our last Tisha B'Av in Golus. Maybe this year, we still have a couple of days. We might be able to still get to Yerushalayim. We might not have to fast this Tisha B'Av. Let's Taka be able to uproot the Tisha B'Av. And we should all be Zoichet to be together in Yerushalayim.